Listen, pause for a moment and feel this. Something brought you here. Not randomly. Not accidentally. Not just another scroll, another video, another message lost in the noise. No, this moment feels different, doesn't it? There's something in your chest right now, something you can't fully explain. A quiet pull, a strange urgency, a feeling that says, wait, I need to hear this. That feeling is not emotion. That feeling is recognition. Because something has been off in your life lately, and you haven't been able to explain it. You've been trying to move forward, trying to break through, trying to step into something greater, but it feels like an invisible wall keeps rising in front of you. Doors almost open then close. Opportunities almost align and disappear. Peace almost settles then gets disrupted. And you've asked yourself, haven't you? Why does it feel like something is blocking me? Why do I feel so close yet so stuck? Why does everything seem just out of reach? You've questioned your effort. You've questioned your timing. You've even questioned yourself. But what if I told you it's not what you think? What if the resistance you've been feeling is not natural? What if the delay is not random? What if the blockage is not failure? Archangel Michael steps forward now, not as a symbol, not as a metaphor, but as a divine messenger of truth. His presence is not soft, is not distant. It is sharp, precise, and filled with authority. And he says, you were led here because something is interfering with your breakthrough, and it's time you saw it clearly. Do you feel that shift? Because this is not just a message. This is an interruption. A divine interruption. Something in your life has been trying to keep you distracted, keep you tired, keep you doubting, keep you circling the same place over and over again. And the most frustrating part is it hasn't been obvious. It hasn't been loud. It hasn't been something you could easily point to and say, that's the problem. No, it's been subtle. It shows up as overthinking when you try to move forward. It shows up as exhaustion when you finally get momentum. It shows up as confusion right when clarity is about to break through. And you've been carrying it silently. You've smiled when you felt drained. You've kept going when you felt blocked. You've stayed strong when something deep inside you whispered, something isn't right. And now heaven is answering that whisper. Archangel Michael is not here to scare you. He is here to wake you. Because the truth is this. You are not stuck because you are weak. You are facing resistance because you are close. Yes, close. Closer than you've ever been. That's why the pressure has increased. That's why the confusion has intensified. That's why things feel heavier right before they're supposed to break open. Because breakthrough is not just about receiving. It's about passing through resistance. And right now you are standing at the edge of something major. But you cannot step into it until you understand what's been standing in your way. This is why you were brought here. This is why this message found you. This is why something inside you refused to scroll past. Because Archangel Michael is about to reveal what has been hidden. What has been influencing you. What has been quietly interfering with your path. And once you see it, everything changes. So don't rush this moment. Don't distract yourself now. Because the next part of this message will begin to uncover the truth behind the resistance you've been feeling, and why it has followed you so persistently. You are not here by accident. You are here because it's time to break through, and heaven is about to show you how. Type I am ready in the comments if you feel this message stirring your spirit. Blessing code 1010 is now activating alignment around your life. You've been trying to explain it, haven't you? That strange heaviness that shows up without warning. that quiet frustration that lingers even when everything looks fine on the outside. You wake up some days with no clear reason for the weight in your spirit, yet it's there, subtle, persistent, almost like a shadow that follows you but never fully reveals itself. You've asked yourself if it's stress, if it's overthinking, if it's just a phase. But deep down, there's a part of you that knows this feels different. Archangel Michael steps closer in this moment, and his voice carries both authority and clarity as he reveals something you need to hear. What you've been feeling is not your imagination. It is not weakness. It is not you losing your way. It is resistance, real, targeted, and strategic resistance that has been operating quietly beneath the surface of your daily life. Think about the patterns. Every time you begin to gain momentum, something interrupts it. Every time you feel a sense of clarity rising, confusion suddenly clouds your thoughts. Every time you try to move forward with confidence, doubt creeps in from nowhere, whispering questions that don't even sound like your own voice. This is not coincidence. This is not random timing. This is interference. You felt it in your energy. Moments where you should feel excited, but instead you feel drained. Situations that should feel simple, but somehow become complicated. Conversations that leave you more confused than before, even when they started with clarity. It's like something keeps shifting the atmosphere around you just enough to throw you off balance. And the hardest part is that it's subtle. It doesn't scream. It doesn't announce itself. It simply lingers, quietly redirecting your focus, quietly delaying your steps. Archangel Michael reveals that this kind of resistance is designed to do one thing: keep you from recognizing how close you are to your breakthrough. Because if you fully understood how near you are to stepping into a new level of clarity, peace, and alignment, you would not tolerate what has been draining you. You would not entertain the thoughts that weaken you. You would not remain in spaces that confuse you. And so the resistance works quietly, keeping you uncertain, keeping you second-guessing, keeping you just distracted enough to stay in place. You've even questioned yourself because of it. There have been moments where you thought, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm just tired. And while exhaustion may play a role, it is not the root. The root is that something has been pressing against your progress, not to destroy you, but to delay you. And delay, if left unchecked, can feel exactly like defeat. But hear this clearly. Delay is not denial. The fact that you are still here, still searching, still listening, still feeling that pull towards something greater means that your breakthrough has not been taken from you. It has only been resisted. And resistance only shows up where something valuable is about to emerge. There is a reason the weight increased right when you started to grow. There is a reason the confusion appeared right when you began to see things differently. There is a reason certain situations became heavier the moment you tried to step into something better. It is because your movement forward is not unnoticed. Your growth is not ignored. Your shift is not invisible. Archangel Michael makes it clear that what you are experiencing is a form of spiritual friction. It is the tension between who you have been and who you are becoming. It is the pressure that builds when you are about to break through an old limitation. And friction always creates discomfort before it creates movement. You are not losing your way. You are pushing against something that no longer has authority over your life, even though it is still trying to hold on. That is why it feels confusing. That is why it feels inconsistent. Because it does not belong to your future, but it has not fully released its grip from your present. And now, you are being asked to see it differently. Not as something that defines you, but as something that is revealing itself so it can finally be removed. Because once you recognize the resistance for what it truly is, it loses its power to confuse you. It loses its ability to disguise itself as your own thoughts, your own doubts, your own limitations. This is the moment where awareness begins to rise. This is the moment where you stop internalizing what was never yours to carry. And this is the moment where Archangel Michael prepares you for the next revelation, because what has been blocking your clarity is deeper than you realize, and the veil that has been covering your vision is about to be lifted. Stay present. Stay aware. Because what comes next will begin to show you exactly why you haven't been able to see clearly and what must change for your breakthrough to finally come through. Type "I see the truth" in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 2020 is now aligning your awareness. There is a reason you haven't been able to see things clearly. Not fully. Not consistently. Not in the way you know you are capable of. And it has frustrated you more than you admitted. Because you are not someone who lacks perception. You are not someone who walks blindly through life. You've always had a sense, an inner knowing, a quiet awareness that guided you even when things didn't make sense. But recently that clarity has felt dimmed, interrupted, almost like trying to look through a fogged window where shapes are visible, but details are hidden. Archangel Michael speaks into this moment with precision, and what he reveals shifts everything. Your vision has not failed you. It has been veiled, not destroyed, not removed, veiled. There is a difference, because what is veiled can be lifted. What is veiled can be cleared. But while it remains in place, it distorts everything. It makes truth feel uncertain. It makes decisions feel heavier than they should. It makes simple paths appear complicated. And most importantly, it keeps you questioning yourself when you should be trusting what you already sense. This veil did not appear overnight. It formed slowly, layer by layer, through moments you didn't even recognize as significant at the time. Emotional exhaustion played a role. Carrying too much without release began to cloud your sensitivity. Situations where you had to suppress how you truly felt created internal tension. And over time, the tension became noise that interfered with your ability to hear your own inner clarity. Think back. There were moments when your intuition spoke clearly, but you dismissed it. Moments when something felt off, but you gave it the benefit of the doubt. Moments when you sensed a shift, but chose to stay where you were out of familiarity, out of comfort, or out of hope that things would correct themselves. Each of those moments added a layer to the veil. Not because you were wrong, but because you were navigating without full awareness of what was happening beneath the surface. Archangel Michael reveals that this veil was not just emotional. It became spiritual interference. Not in a way that overpowered you, but in a way that distracted you. It redirected your focus just enough to keep you from fully aligning with what you were sensing. It blurred your discernment just enough to make you hesitate. And hesitation, repeated over time, creates delay. You began to question your instincts. You began to overanalyze what used to feel natural. You began to look outside yourself for confirmation instead of trusting what was already rising within you. And this is where the blockage deepened, not because you lost your ability to see, but because you stopped trusting what you saw. The veil thrives on that hesitation. It feeds on doubt. It strengthens when you second-guess your own awareness. Because as long as you remain uncertain, you remain paused. And when you are paused, you are not moving forward into the breakthrough that is already forming in front of you. But this is where the shift begins. Archangel Michael makes it clear that the veil is now weakening. The very fact that you are hearing this, that something inside you is recognizing these words, is proof that your clarity is returning. You are beginning to see patterns again. You are beginning to notice what once went overlooked. You are beginning to feel the difference between what drains you and what aligns with you. That is not coincidence. That is the veil lifting. However, there is something you must understand in this moment. Clarity does not return all at once. It returns in layers, just as the veil was formed in layers. And as it lifts, you may begin to see things that feel uncomfortable. Realizations about situations you stayed in too long. Awareness of dynamics you overlooked. Truths about people, environments, or even parts of yourself that you were not ready to face before. This is not punishment. This is restoration. Because true clarity does not just show you where to go, it shows you what must be released in order to move forward freely. You are not losing control. You are regaining vision. And as that vision sharpens, you will begin to understand why certain things felt confusing, why certain paths felt blocked, and why certain answers never fully came. It was not because you were incapable. It was because you were not meant to move forward until you could see clearly enough to choose differently. That moment is now approaching. The veil is lifting. The fog is thinning. And what once felt uncertain is about to become unmistakable. Stay anchored in this awareness, because the next revelation will take you even deeper into what has remained attached to you beneath the surface, quietly influencing your energy and your progress without your full awareness. Type "My vision is clearing" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3030 is now restoring your discernment. As this clarity begins to return to you, understand this. Every revelation you receive is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to flow through you, to reach others who are still searching in the same fog you are now rising above. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are placing light into someone else's darkness, becoming a vessel through which God reaches another soul at the exact moment they need it. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not distant scripture. It is a living promise that activates when you move in obedience. I feel led to say this directly. Step into this moment and release your seed as an act of faith, because what you give now becomes part of a divine harvest you cannot yet see. This is not about supporting a message. It is about advancing a calling. Your obedience unlocks impact, and your impact carries eternity. Act now, and watch how heaven responds. There have been moments in your life that didn't make sense at the time. Moments that felt like opportunity but somehow slipped through your hands. Doors that seemed to open just enough to give you hope, only to close before you could fully step through. And if you're honest with yourself, some of those moments still linger in your mind. You've replayed them. You've questioned them. You've wondered, what did I miss? What could I have done differently? Why didn't it work out when it felt so close? Archangel Michael speaks into that exact place of questioning, and what he reveals is not what you expected. You did not miss your breakthrough because you were unprepared. You did not lose those moments because you failed. What you experienced were openings that were not yet aligned with your full clarity. They were real, but they were not complete. They appeared before you were fully able to see what was behind them. And this is where the veil you carried played a deeper role than you realized. Because when your vision is even slightly clouded, you can recognize opportunity, but you cannot fully discern its weight, its timing, or its consequences. You can feel the pull, but you cannot always see the full picture. And so you either hesitate when you should move, or you move when you should wait. Not because you lack wisdom, but because your perception was still forming. Think about it carefully. There were times when you felt unsure, even when something seemed right. Times when you stepped forward, but something inside you held back. Times when things fell apart in ways that felt frustrating, confusing, even disappointing. And you carried that disappointment quietly. You told yourself you missed something important. You told yourself you should have done better. But Archangel Michael interrupts that narrative now and replaces it with truth. Those moments were not lost. They were redirected. Because divine timing does not just depend on opportunity. It depends on alignment. It depends on clarity. It depends on your ability to not only walk through the door, but to sustain what is on the other side of it. And if you had stepped fully into certain doors before your vision was clear, you would have entered spaces that required a level of discernment you did not yet have access to. That is why some doors closed. Not to block you, but to protect you. There are paths that look right from the outside but carry complications you would not have recognized at the time. There are opportunities that appear beneficial but would have drained you in ways you could not yet detect. There are connections that seem aligned but would have led you into deeper confusion rather than clarity. You were not being denied. You were being delayed for refinement. This is the part that shifts everything, because it removes the weight of regret you have been carrying. You were never behind. You were never missing your moment. You were moving through a process where your awareness had to rise before your access could expand. And now, something is changing. Because the same way doors once closed when your clarity was incomplete, new doors are now preparing to open as your vision begins to sharpen. But this time, you will not approach them the same way. You will not second-guess yourself in the same way. You will not move from uncertainty. You will move from awareness. Archangel Michael reveals that divine timing is not just about when something appears. It is about when you are able to recognize its true nature. And that ability is now strengthening within you. You are beginning to see what you once overlooked. You are beginning to understand what you once questioned. You are beginning to feel the difference between what looks good and what is truly aligned. That is the shift. That is the preparation. That is what makes the next door different from the previous ones. But there is one more truth you must receive before you move forward. Some of what felt like missed opportunities were actually early glimpses. Glimpses of what is still meant for you, but in a more refined, aligned, and sustainable form. They were previews, not final outcomes. And now that your clarity is returning, you are being repositioned to encounter those same types of opportunities again. But this time, with the awareness to choose differently. This is not repetition. This is redemption. You are not going back. You are stepping forward with understanding. So release the weight of what you thought you lost. Release the questions that have kept you looking backward. Because what is aligned with you has not passed you by. It hath been waiting for you to see clearly enough to receive it without confusion. And now, you are approaching that moment. Stay grounded in this truth, because the next revelation will take you deeper into what is still connected to you beneath the surface, what has quietly influenced your energy, your decisions, and your progress without fully revealing itself. Type "I trust divine timing" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 4040 is now restoring alignment in your path. There is something still connected to you and you felt it, even if you haven't fully understood it. It doesn't show up loudly. It doesn't announce itself clearly. But it lingers. It pulls at your energy in subtle ways. It shows up in moments when you're trying to move forward, yet something inside you feels slightly held back. Not enough to stop you completely, but enough to slow you down. Enough to make you pause when you should be progressing. Enough to make you question when you should be certain. Archangel Michael steps into this moment with precision, and he reveals something that may feel deeply personal, but necessary for your breakthrough. There is a spiritual thread still attached to you from your past, and it has been quietly influencing your present. This thread is not physical, but its impact is real. It is formed through emotional ties, unresolved moments, unspoken words, and experiences that were never fully released. It connects you to something, or someone, that no longer aligns with who you are becoming, yet it has not been completely severed. And this is where the blockage has been hiding. Because you can move forward physically while still being tied spiritually. You can create change externally while still carrying internal attachments that pull your energy backward. You can step into new environments while still feeling the weight of something that belongs to an old season. Think about the patterns that have repeated, emotions that resurface unexpectedly, the thoughts that appear without invitation, the memories that still carry influence over how you respond, how you trust, how you decide. These are not random. They are signals of a connection that was never fully released. Archangel Michael reveals that this thread does not exist to harm you, but it does restrict you. It creates subtle resistance by dividing your focus. Part of you moves forward, while another part remains anchored to what should have already been let go. And that division is enough to slow your breakthrough. You may have told yourself that you've moved on. You may have convinced yourself that certain situations no longer affect you. But the truth is not found in what you say. It is revealed in what still influences your energy. And that influence has been present, even in ways you didn't fully recognize. This thread could be connected to a person who once held significance in your life. It could be tied to a moment where something ended without closure. It could be rooted in an experience that left an emotional imprint you never fully processed. It could even be connected to a version of yourself that you have outgrown, but not completely released. And here is the truth you must receive. As long as the thread remains active, it will continue to pull at your progress. Not enough to stop you, but enough to delay you. Not enough to break you, but enough to weaken your clarity. Not enough to control you, but enough to interfere with your full alignment. This is why certain things have felt heavier than they should. This is why some decisions have felt more complicated than necessary. This is why moments of clarity have been followed by moments of hesitation. Because part of your energy has still been connected to something that no longer belongs in your current path. Archangel Michael does not reveal this to create discomfort. He reveals it to create freedom. Because what is seen can be released. What is acknowledged can be severed. What is understood can no longer hide beneath the surface. You are not being asked to revisit the past. You are being asked to detach from its influence. There is a difference. Revisiting keeps you there. Releasing frees you from it. And now, you are standing at the point where that release becomes necessary for your next level. The thread cannot follow you into your breakthrough. It cannot exist where you are going. And that is why it is being revealed now, before the door fully opens. You may feel this realization settling in as you listen. You may already sense what this thread is connected to. You may already know what, or who, this is referring to. And if that awareness is rising, do not ignore it. Do not push it away. Do not try to justify it. Because clarity has returned for a reason. Archangel Michael is preparing you for the next step, and that step requires full alignment, not partial movement. Not divided energy, full alignment. And that alignment begins with release. The moment you choose to detach from what has been quietly holding you back is the moment your energy shifts forward without resistance. It is the moment your clarity strengthens. It is the moment your breakthrough moves from delay into motion. But before that shift fully takes place, there is something deeper that must be understood. Because the source of this blockage is not just external, and not just attached. It is rooted in something within that is ready to change. And that is what will be revealed next. Type "I release the past" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5050 is now breaking every hidden attachment in your life. You've been looking for the blockage in the wrong place. Not because you were careless. Not because you lacked awareness. But because what has been standing in your way has not been obvious. It hasn't looked like failure. It hasn't looked like a clear obstacle you could identify and remove. Instead, it has been hidden within something much closer, something much more personal. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity in this moment, and what he reveals shifts your entire perspective. The true source of your blockage is not outside of you, it is rooted within your alignment. Now listen carefully, because this is not blame. This is revelation. There is a version of you that has already outgrown the patterns, the thinking, and the responses you once relied on. You are not who you used to be. Your awareness has expanded. Your sensitivity to truth has increased. Your desire for clarity, peace, and purpose has become stronger. And yet, part of you has still been operating from an old internal framework, one that no longer matches where you are going. This is where the tension has been forming. Because when your outer desire moves forward, but your inner alignment has not fully shifted, it creates resistance. Not external resistance, but internal friction. You begin to feel pulled in two directions at once. One part of you is ready for change, ready for growth, ready for breakthrough. But another part of you, conditioned by past experiences, shaped by old patterns, hesitates. It questions. It holds back. And that hesitation has been enough to slow your progress. You've seen it in your decisions. Moments where you knew what felt right, but still paused. Moments where you felt clarity, but then second-guessed it. Moments where you almost moved forward with certainty, but something inside you pulled you back into doubt. That something is not random. It is the residue of an old internal alignment that no longer serves you. Archangel Michael reveals that this is the final layer of the blockage. It is not the people around you. It is not the situations you faced. It is not even the past that has tried to stay connected. Those things have influenced you, yes, but they are not the root. The root is the space within you that has not fully updated to match who you are becoming. You have been growing, but part of your identity has remained anchored in what you used to believe about yourself. Beliefs formed in moments where you were unsure, where you were tested, where you had to navigate without clarity. And even though you have moved beyond those moments, some of those internal patterns have remained active. Patterns of overthinking. Patterns of hesitation. Patterns of waiting for confirmation instead of trusting your own awareness. Patterns of trying to make everything make sense before taking action. These patterns once protected you. They once helped you navigate uncertainty. But now they are slowing you down. Because breakthrough does not require perfect certainty. It requires aligned movement. And this is what Archangel Michael is calling you into now. You are not being asked to become someone new. You are being asked to fully step into who you have already become. To trust the clarity that is returning. To move with the awareness that is rising within you. To stop filtering your decisions through outdated patterns that no longer reflect your current level of understanding. This is where alignment shifts everything. When your internal state matches your external direction, resistance dissolves. Decisions become clear. Movement becomes smoother. Opportunities become easier to recognize. Because you are no longer divided within yourself. And this is why the blockage has felt so confusing. Because it wasn't something you could remove externally. It was something that had to be recognized internally. But now, that recognition has arrived. You can feel it. That subtle shift happening even as you listen. That awareness settling in. That realization that something within you is ready to change, not through force but through understanding. You are no longer the version of yourself that needed to hesitate. You are no longer the version of yourself that needed to doubt your own perception. You are no longer the version of yourself that needed to wait for external validation to confirm what you already sensed. That version of you has served its purpose, and now it is time to release it. Archangel Michael makes it clear, your breakthrough is not waiting on something outside of you. It is waiting on your full alignment within yourself. The moment you trust what you already see, the moment you move with what you already know, the moment you stop holding back because of old patterns, that is the moment everything begins to shift. That is the moment the blockage loses its foundation. And that is the moment your breakthrough moves from possibility into reality. But there is still one more layer to understand. Because even as your alignment shifts, there has been a battle happening beyond what you can see. One that has been influencing the timing, the pressure, and the intensity of what you've been experiencing. And that is what will be revealed next. Type "I align with my true self" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6060 is now activating full alignment in your life. There has been more happening around you than you've been able to see. More movement, more resistance, more protection. And yet, because it hasn't been visible, you've tried to make sense of everything through what you can feel, what you can think, and what you can logically explain. But Archangel Michael steps forward now to reveal a truth that reframes everything you've been experiencing. There has been a battle in the unseen surrounding your breakthrough, and it has been active for longer than you realize. This is not something to fear. This is something to understand. Because what you have been feeling as pressure, confusion, delay, and resistance has not been happening in isolation. It hath been part of a larger movement, one that involves both opposition and protection at the same time. And the intensity you've experienced is not random. It is proportional to what is at stake. You have felt moments where everything seemed heavier than usual, moments where your thoughts became more crowded, moments where your energy dropped without a clear reason, moments where you questioned things you were once certain about. And you may have tried to explain those moments as stress, as fatigue, as circumstance. But Archangel Michael reveals that those moments were points of friction in a deeper process. Because whenever something significant is forming in your life, something aligned, something purposeful, something that shifts your direction, there is always resistance that rises to meet it. Not to overpower you, but to test your alignment. Not to stop you, but to challenge your clarity. And at the same time, there is protection. You have not been navigating this alone. Even in moments where you felt isolated, even in moments where things felt unclear, there has been guidance surrounding you. There have been interruptions that didn't make sense at the time. There have been delays that felt frustrating. There have been shifts that redirected your path unexpectedly. Those were not setbacks. Those were interventions. Archangel Michael makes it clear that part of what you have experienced as delay was actually protection from stepping into situations that were not fully aligned. There were paths that looked right on the surface but carried complications beneath. There were connections that seemed promising but would have drained your clarity. There were decisions that felt urgent but were not meant to be made at that time. And so, things slowed down. Not because you were blocked completely, but because you were being positioned carefully. This is why the process has felt intense. Because you have been moving through both resistance and protection simultaneously. One pushing against you, the other guiding you. One creating pressure, the other creating boundaries. And in the middle of that tension, you trying to understand, trying to move forward, trying to stay grounded while everything felt uncertain. But here is what shifts your perspective now. The fact that you are still here, still aware, still moving forward, even if slowly, is proof that the protection has been stronger than the resistance. You were never left unguarded. There were moments where things could have gone differently, but they did. There were situations that could have pulled you deeper into confusion, but something redirected you. There were outcomes that could have set you back further, but instead, they shifted in ways you didn't fully understand at the time. That was not coincidence. That was alignment being preserved. Archangel Michael reveals that the battle has not been about taking something from you. It has been about preparing you for something you are about to step into. And preparation often feels like pressure before it feels like progress. This is why the intensity has increased as you've gotten closer to clarity. Because the closer you move toward alignment, the more everything that does not align begins to surface. Not to overwhelm you, but to be seen and released. You are not being attacked without purpose. You are being refined with intention. And this is where your awareness becomes your strength. Because once you understand that there has been a larger movement surrounding your experience, you stop internalizing every moment of difficulty as something personal. You begin to see it as part of a process that is shaping your clarity, strengthening your alignment, and preparing your next step. You are not behind. You are not stuck. You are in the final stages of a transition that required both resistance to test you and protection to guide you. And now, something is about to shift. Because there comes a point where the pressure reaches its limit, where the resistance can no longer hold, where the clarity becomes stronger than the confusion. That point is closer than you think. Archangel Michael is not just revealing what had been happening, he is preparing you for what is about to change. Because the next moment in your journey is not about understanding the resistance. It is about stepping beyond it. And that shift begins at the breaking point. Type "I am protected and guided" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7070 is now surrounding your path with divine protection. You have reached a point that cannot be reversed. Something within you has shifted too far to go back to who you used to be. The way you think is changing. The way you feel is changing. The way you respond to things that once held power over you is changing. And even if you tried to return to old patterns, old environments, old ways of thinking, it would not feel the same anymore. Because you are no longer the same. Archangel Michael speaks with undeniable authority in this moment, and his message is clear. You are standing at a breaking point, and this is not a collapse. It is a release. Everything that has built up within you, the pressure, the confusion, the emotional weight, the internal conflict between who you were and who you are becoming, have been leading to this exact moment. A moment where something has to give. A moment where something can no longer continue the way it has been. And that something is the resistance. You have been carrying it long enough. You have been navigating through it long enough. You have been trying to understand it, manage it, and work around it. But now, the process is shifting. This is no longer about managing the pressure. This is about breaking through it. You may feel it already. That sense that something is about to change. That quiet awareness that you cannot keep operating the same way. That internal voice that is no longer whispering, but speaking clearly. This is the moment. And yet, breaking points can feel uncomfortable. Because they require a decision. They require you to stop hesitating. To stop delaying. To stop standing in between two versions of yourself and finally choose one. The version that doubts, hesitates, and waits, or the version that trusts, moves, and aligns. Archangel Michael makes it clear that you cannot carry both into your next level. Something must be left behind. And this is where many people turn back, not because they are incapable, but because the moment of decision feels intense. It feels final. It feels like stepping into the unknown without guarantees. But what you must understand is this: the unknown you are stepping into is not empty. It is prepared. Prepared with clarity. Prepared with alignment. Prepared with everything you need to sustain what is coming next. But you cannot access it while holding on to what has already shown you it no longer works. This is why the breaking point is necessary. Because it forces alignment. It removes the option of staying in between. It removes the comfort of partial movement. It brings everything to the surface so that you can see clearly what must change, what must be released, and what must be chosen. You are not being pushed into this moment by accident. You are being positioned here with intention. Every delay, every realization, every moment of pressure has been building toward this shift. And now, the resistance that once felt strong is losing its hold, not because it has disappeared on its own, but because you are no longer the version of yourself that sustains it. You have outgrown it. And when something is outgrown, it cannot continue to exist in the same way. This is where your power returns, not through force, not through struggle, but through clarity and choice. You are no longer reacting to what is happening around you. You are deciding how you move forward from here. You are no longer waiting for conditions to feel perfect. You are recognizing that alignment creates the conditions you need. And this is why this moment changes everything. Because once you move forward from this point with full awareness, you do not return to confusion in the same way. You do not fall back into hesitation in the same way. You do not allow the same patterns to repeat without recognizing them immediately. This is the shift from being influenced to being aligned. Archangel Michael stands with you in this moment, not to push you, but to confirm what you already feel. You are ready. Ready to release what has been holding you back. Ready to move with clarity instead of doubt. Ready to trust what is rising within you instead of questioning it. And once the choice is made, the breakthrough you have been waiting for is no longer delayed. It begins. But before you fully step into that movement, there is one final instruction that must be understood. Because what you release now will determine what you are able to receive next. And that is what will be revealed in the next section. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8080 is now activating your breakthrough. As you stand at this breaking point, understand that your breakthrough is not meant to remain yours alone. It is meant to become a light for others still waiting in their moment of release. Every seed you sow into this mission becomes a flame that reaches someone still searching for clarity, still standing at their own edge, still needing the very truth that found you today. The word speaks. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. And this is your moment to sow not from lack, but from alignment with what God is doing through you. I feel this clearly. When you give through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are not donating. You are activating a spiritual exchange that multiplies beyond what you can measure. Heaven responds to obedience, not hesitation. And this is your opportunity to step into that response. Let your giving become a declaration that you are moving forward, that you are part of something greater, that you are aligned with the flow of divine purpose. Act now, and watch how your seed becomes part of someone else's breakthrough. Now the moment has come where understanding is no longer enough. You have seen the patterns. You have felt the resistance. You have recognized the veil, the delays, the attachments, the internal misalignment, and the unseen battles surrounding your breakthrough. but none of it fully shifts until you act on what hath been revealed. Archangel Michael does not speak gently in this moment. His voice carries authority, clarity, and urgency as he delivers a direct command. It is time to release. Not later, not gradually, not when it feels easier. Now, because what you are holding onto is no longer neutral. It is now the very thing standing between you and your breakthrough. And the longer you try to carry it forward, the heavier it becomes, the more it interferes, the more it delays what is already prepared for you. You already know what this is. You felt it when the realization surfaced earlier. That quiet awareness that pointed to something specific. A person, a pattern, a mindset, a memory, a version of yourself that once made sense, but no longer aligns with who you are now. And even now, there is a part of you that wants to hold on to it just a little longer. Not because it is right, but because it is familiar. Familiarity can feel like safety, even when it is no longer aligned. It can convince you to stay connected to what you have outgrown. It can make you question whether releasing it is too extreme, too sudden, too unnecessary. But Archangel Michael makes it clear, what you are being asked to release is not being taken from you. It is being removed from your path so you can move forward without resistance. There is a difference between something that supports your growth and something that slows it. And what once supported you may now be the very thing holding you back. This is why the command is not optional. Because your breakthrough cannot coexist with what is misaligned. You cannot step fully into clarity while holding on to confusion. You cannot move into peace while remaining connected to what disrupts it. You cannot receive what is next while still anchored to what belongs to your past. Release is not loss. Release is alignment. And alignment requires decisiveness. This is where you stop negotiating with what you already know. This is where you stop revisiting the same thoughts, the same justifications, the same internal conversations that keep you in place. Because every time you hesitate, you reattach yourself to what you are meant to let go of. Archangel Michael is not asking you to understand every detail before you release. He is asking you to trust what has already been revealed to you. You do not need more signs. You do not need more confirmation. You already have clarity. Now you need movement. And movement begins with a decision that may feel simple, but carries power. You choose to let go. Not partially. Not temporarily. Fully. You release the attachment. Not just physically, but energetically. You stop giving it your attention. You stop feeding it your focus. You stop allowing it to influence your decisions, your emotions, and your direction. And the moment you do that, something shifts. You feel it immediately. The weight begins to lift. The mental noise begins to quiet. The clarity that was trying to rise now has space to fully emerge. And the resistance that once felt strong suddenly weakens, not because it disappeared on its own, but because you are no longer sustaining it. This is the power of release. It does not require force. It requires willingness. And you are ready. You have been prepared for this moment through everything you have experienced up to this point. The confusion showed you what needed clarity. The delays showed you what needed alignment. The pressure showed you what needed to be released. And now, all of it leads here, to a single decision that unlocks everything that follows. Archangel Michael stands firm in this moment, not to pressure you, but to confirm what is already true. You are capable of releasing this. You are strong enough to move forward without it. You are clear enough to choose alignment over familiarity. And once you do, there is nothing left holding your breakthrough back. The path opens. A movement begins. A shift becomes real. But before you step fully into what is next, there is something you must understand about what happens after release, because what follows is not emptiness but restoration. And that is what will be revealed next. Type ILET GO now in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9090 is now breaking every chain that once held you back. Now that the release has been made, something begins to shift in a way that feels almost unfamiliar at first. Not because it is unnatural, but because it is new to you. You have spent so much time navigating resistance, managing pressure, and carrying weight that when it finally lifts, there's a moment where your system has to adjust. Archangel Michael speaks gently here, but with certainty. What you are about to experience is restoration, and it will not feel like struggle. It will feel like ease. Not effortless in the sense that nothing requires action, but aligned in a way where your actions no longer feel forced, where movement becomes natural again, where decisions no longer feel heavy, where clarity does not have to be chased. It begins to appear on its own. This is the phase where everything that was blocked begins to flow. You may notice it first in your thoughts. The noise that once filled your mind starts to quiet. The overthinking that once slowed you down begins to fade. In its place, there is a steadiness, a sense of knowing that does not need to be explained, only followed. You may notice it in your energy. The exhaustion that once lingered without reason begins to lift. You feel lighter, not because your responsibilities have disappeared, but because you are no longer carrying what was never yours to hold. There is space where there was once tension, and most importantly, you will notice it in your direction. Things begin to align. Not all at once, not in a way that overwhelms you, but steadily, naturally. Opportunities appear without the same level of resistance. Conversations begin to make more sense. Decisions that once felt complicated now feel clear. You are no longer forcing movement. You are responding to it. This is restoration. Archangel Michael reveals that restoration is not just about receiving what was delayed. It is about receiving it in a way that is sustainable, in a way that does not pull you back into confusion, in a way that matches the clarity you have now gained. Because if you had received certain things earlier, without this alignment, they would not have lasted. They would have required you to operate from the same patterns you have now released. And eventually, they would have created the same cycle again. But now, you are different. And because you are different, what comes next will meet you at that level. You will begin to recognize things you once overlooked. You will see clearly what aligns and what does not. You will feel the difference between what supports your growth and what drains it. And because of that awareness, you will move differently. This is how restoration protects itself. It does not rely on external conditions alone. It is sustained by your internal clarity. You are no longer reacting to everything around you. You are choosing your direction with intention. You are no longer waiting for confirmation from others. You are trusting what has already been revealed within you. And this is where acceleration begins. Because once resistance is removed and alignment is established, movement becomes faster, not rushed but unhindered. What once took time to process now becomes immediate. What once required effort now flows naturally. What once felt distant now becomes accessible. This is not luck. This is alignment in motion. Archangel Michael makes it clear that what you are stepping into is not something you need to chase. It is something that will meet you as you continue to move forward in clarity. But there is one condition that must remain in place. You must not return to what you have released, because restoration can only continue where alignment is maintained. The moment you reconnect with what once drained you, you reintroduce the same resistance that was just removed. not in the same intensity, but enough to slow your movement again. This is why awareness must remain active. You are not returning to who you were. You are moving forward as who you have become. And that requires consistency. Not perfection, but awareness. Not pressure, but presence. You will know when something does not align. You will feel it immediately now. It is part of the restoration. Your sensitivity to truth has returned stronger than before. Trust it. Follow it. Protect it. Because what you are building now is not temporary. It is the foundation for what comes next. And what comes next is not just about receiving. It is about sustaining, expanding, and stepping fully into what was always meant for you. Archangel Michael stands with you in this phase, not to guide every step, but to confirm that you are now capable of walking forward with clarity on your own. You are no longer dependent on confusion to learn. You are moving with understanding. And that is what makes this restoration different from anything you have experienced before. You are not returning to a previous state. You are stepping into a new one. But there is one final warning that must be understood before you fully move forward, because what you choose next will determine whether this alignment continues or begins to weaken again. And that is what will be revealed in the next section. Type "I receive restoration" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activating sustained alignment in your life. And now you must hear this clearly, because this is where many lose what they fought so hard to gain. Restoration has begun. Clarity has returned. Alignment is forming. You feel the difference within yourself. You think differently. You respond differently. You see differently. But Archangel Michael steps forward with a final warning, not to create fear, but to protect what has just been restored. Do not return to what drained you. Not out of curiosity. Not out of habit. Not out of comfort. Because what once held you back has not changed, you have. And this is where the danger quietly hides. There will be moments ahead where the past tries to reintroduce itself. It may not come aggressively. It may not look the same. In fact, it may appear softer, more familiar, even inviting. Old conversations may resurface. Old connections may reach out. Old thoughts may try to settle back into your mind as if nothing has changed. But something has changed. You have. And what once felt normal will now feel different. Subtly at first, but noticeably. You may feel a slight tension, a quiet discomfort, a sense that something is not fully aligned. That is not confusion. That is awareness. Archangel Michael makes it clear that returning does not always look like going backward physically. Sometimes it begins mentally. Entertaining thoughts you have already outgrown. Replaying scenarios that no longer serve you. Questioning decisions that you have already gained clarity on. Sometimes it shows up emotionally. Allowing yourself to reconnect with feelings that once kept you stuck. Reopening attachments that you already released. Giving energy to what you have already moved beyond. And sometimes it shows up physically. Stepping back into environments that you know drained you. Re-engaging with people or patterns that you have already recognized as misaligned. Each of these is a doorway, and you now have the awareness to either keep it closed or open it again. This is the difference between temporary progress and sustained breakthrough. Archangel Michael does not warn you because you are weak. He warns you because you are now aware, and awareness comes with responsibility. You are no longer operating in confusion. You are no longer moving without understanding. You have seen what was hidden. You have released what was attached. You have stepped into alignment. And now you must protect it. Because what you have gained is valuable. Clarity is valuable. Peace is valuable. Alignment is valuable. And anything valuable requires protection, not through fear but through discipline. You do not need to fight the past. You simply need to not return to it. You do not need to overanalyze every situation. You simply need to trust what you already feel. You do not need to question every decision. You simply need to remain consistent with what you now know. This is where your power stabilizes. Because breakthrough is not just about reaching a new level, it is about maintaining it. And maintenance comes through awareness in action. You will be tested, not to fail, but to confirm your growth. Situations may appear that resemble what you have already moved beyond. Not exactly the same, but similar enough to trigger recognition. And in those moments, your response will define your direction. You can return or you can remain aligned. Archangel Michael stands firm in this truth. What is ahead of you is greater than anything behind you. But you cannot move fully into it while keeping a connection to what you have already outgrown. This is not restriction. This is protection. You are not being limited. You are being guided. Because the life you are stepping into requires a different version of you. A version that does not compromise clarity for comfort, that does not trade alignment for familiarity, that does not step backward simply because it feels easier. You have already done the hard part. You have faced the resistance. You have recognized the patterns. You have released the attachments. You have shifted your alignment. Now, you simply need to remain in it. And as you do, something powerful happens. Your new state becomes your natural state. What once required effort becomes automatic. What once required awareness becomes instant. What once felt unfamiliar becomes who you are. This is how transformation stabilizes. This is how breakthrough becomes permanent. And this is why this final warning matters. Not to limit you, but to ensure that what you have just stepped into is not temporary. Because what is coming next requires you to stay exactly where you are now, aligned, aware, and moving forward. And that leads to the final activation. Type "I move forward" only in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now sealing your path in alignment. This is the moment everything has been leading to. Not the confusion, not the delay, not the resistance, but this exact point where you are no longer questioning what is happening, but recognizing it for what it is. A transition, a shift, a divine activation that has been forming beneath the surface, waiting for you to arrive at full awareness. Archangel Michael stands before you now, not as a distant presence, but as a witness to your transformation. And his voice carries a final declaration. You are no longer preparing for your breakthrough, you are stepping into it. Feel that. Because this is not symbolic. This is not something that happens later. This is not something you wait for. This is something you enter, now, in this moment, through the choices you make, the alignment you hold, and the clarity you no longer ignore. Everything that was hidden has been revealed. Everything that was attached has been released. Everything that was unclear has been brought into light. And now, there is nothing left between you and what is meant for you, except your willingness to step forward without hesitation. This is where many pause, not because they are not ready, but because the moment feels too real, too final, too powerful. There is no more analyzing, no more waiting for signs, no more preparing for the right time. The right time is no longer ahead of you. It is here. And Archangel Michael makes it clear, you cannot stand at the edge of your breakthrough and remain the same. You must move, not recklessly, not impulsively, but decisively. You must trust what you now know without needing to revisit what you have already outgrown. You must follow your clarity without returning to doubt. You must move in alignment without negotiating with what once held you back. Because this is what activation looks like. It is not a feeling alone. It is a decision in motion. It is the moment where your awareness becomes action, where your understanding becomes movement, where your clarity becomes direction. You are no longer reacting to life. You are directing it. And this is where your power fully returns, not as control over everything around you, but as alignment within yourself that shapes everything you experience. You begin to notice how quickly things respond to your decisions, how naturally opportunities begin to align, how effortlessly clarity continues to expand, because you are no longer divided. You are no longer holding on to conflicting patterns. You are no longer standing in between two versions of yourself. You have chosen, and that choice activates everything. Archangel Michael reveals that what you are stepping into is not just a breakthrough. It is a new level of living, a state where you no longer need to fight for clarity because you maintain it, where you no longer need to search for direction because you recognize it, where you no longer feel blocked because you understand how to remain aligned. This is the difference between temporary change and permanent transformation. And you are now operating from transformation. So as you move forward from this moment, understand this. Your breakthrough is not something you wait to see. It is something you continue to walk in. Every aligned decision strengthens it. Every moment of awareness sustains it. Every step forward expands it. You are no longer asking, when will things change? You are now saying, I am moving with what has already changed. This is your activation. This is your confirmation. This is your moment. Archangel Michael stands with you, not to lead you anymore, but to affirm what is now true. You are capable, you are aligned, and you are ready. Step forward, without hesitation, without looking back, without carrying what has already been released. Because what is ahead of you is no longer blocked. It is open, and it is waiting for you to walk into it. Type I step into my breakthrough in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now fully activated over your life. As you step fully into this breakthrough, understand that your obedience does not end here. It multiplies. Every time you sow into this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are releasing a seed that becomes light in someone else's darkness, a voice in someone else's silence, a breakthrough in someone else's waiting season. The word declares, cast your bread upon the waters, for you shall find it after many days, and this is your moment to act in faith, not delay. I feel this strongly for you. What you release now becomes part of a divine cycle that returns to you in ways you cannot predict but will undeniably recognize. This is not support. It is participation in a living assignment that is reaching souls across the world. Your seed carries purpose, your action carries power, and your obedience carries reward. Step into this now, give with intention, and watch how heaven responds to your alignment.